But for Ethan, a man trying to outrun a past written in blood, a simple act of kindness didn't just cost him a few minutes of his time. It almost cost him his life. What would you do if helping a stranger meant exposing the darkest secret you've ever kept? Meet Ethan. To his neighbors, he's the quiet guy in 4B, a single dad with tired eyes, grease-stained hands, and a smile that never quite reaches his eyes. He works 2 jobs to keep a roof over his 6-year-old daughter, Emma. But if you looked closer, if you watched him when he thought no one was looking, you'd realize Ethan isn't just tired, he's hunting. Or rather, he's waiting to be hunted. Every morning, before Emma wakes up, Ethan checks the perimeter of the building. He doesn't own a gun anymore. He melted his down 3 years ago, but he keeps a toolbox by the door. Under the wrenches, there's a false bottom. Inside isn't spare cash, it's a photo. A younger Ethan, standing shoulder to shoulder with Don Vanchetti, the most ruthless mob boss the city had ever seen. Ethan isn't just a mechanic. He's a ghost. He betrayed the syndicate to save his wife, and though he couldn't save her from cancer, he swore he'd keep Emma safe from his past. For 3 years, he's been invisible. Until one chilly Tuesday morning. Ethan was late. His truck had died. Again. Every minute lost was money deducted from his paycheck, money he needed for rent. He was jogging through the downtown district, head down, hoodie up. He was sticking to the plan, be invisible, be nobody. But the universe has a funny way of breaking plans. Through the morning traffic, a sound cut through the noise. A desperate cry. "Please, someone help me." He stopped. 50 yards away, he saw her. A woman, dressed in clothes that cost more than Ethan made in a year, sprawled on the cold concrete beside a toppled wheelchair. Now, here is where the story usually goes. The hero rushes over, helps her up, and they share a smile. But remember, Ethan isn't a normal hero. As he turned toward her, his eyes didn't just see a woman in distress. His training kicked in. He scanned the environment, and he saw what the other pedestrians missed. A black sedan was idling across the street against the flow of traffic. The engine was humming. The back window cracked open just an inch, and a glint of sunlight hit something metallic inside. Ethan knew that glint. It wasn't a watch. It was a barrel. This wasn't an accident. The woman hadn't fallen. She had been flushed out. Ethan had a split-second choice. Keep walking, keep Emma safe, keep being a ghost, or step into the line of fire for a stranger. He didn't think. He moved. Not with the jog of a tired dad, but with the explosive speed of an enforcer. He dropped his toolbox and lunged, not just to help her up, but to put his body between her and the car. He hauled her into the wheelchair, shielding her with his own back, staring directly at the tinted window of the sedan. A silent challenge. The driver of the sedan hesitated. The element of surprise was gone. With a screech of tires, the car peeled away, vanishing into the city traffic. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by the cold dread of realization. Ethan had just exposed himself. He looked down at the woman, expecting a thank you. Instead, she grabbed his wrist with a grip of iron. Her face wasn't just pale from the fall. It was pale with recognition of what just happened. She whispered 3 words that froze Ethan's blood. "They found me." Ethan realized then that this woman, Lydia, wasn't just a helpless victim. She was a target. And by saving her, he had just painted a target on his own back and worse, on his daughter's. Ethan just walked into a trap he can't see the bottom of yet. But here's the question for you guys. If you knew that stopping to help a stranger would put your own family in danger, would you still stop? Or would you keep walking? Let me know your answer in the comments below. Because what happens next, nobody saw coming. Ethan thought he saved a victim on that sidewalk. He was wrong. He had just invited the devil into his living room, and he locked the door behind her. The moment Lydia whispered, "They found me," the clock started ticking. Ethan knew he couldn't stay in the open. Against every instinct screaming at him to run, he took Lydia back to his small, fortified apartment. He told himself it was just for a few hours. just until he figured out who was hunting her. But while Lydia sat at his kitchen table, charming little Emma with stories of corporate life and buying her a brand new laptop online, Ethan slipped out into the night. He wasn't a mechanic anymore. He was the ghost. He tracked down the license plate of the black sedan to a warehouse on the docks. He didn't ask questions nicely. He used the skills he had buried 3 years ago, and what he found terrified him. The men hunting Lydia weren't random thugs. They were Vanchettis, his old crew, the same men who wanted Ethan's head on a spike. But here is where things stop making sense. Why would the Vanchetti crime family be hunting a tech CEO? Back at the apartment, the lines were blurring. Ethan returned to find Lydia and Emma laughing, drawing pictures together. For the first time in years, his cold, empty home felt warm. He watched them, torn. He was falling for the illusion of a family. But deep down, a voice whispered, "Predators don't play with their food unless they're not hungry yet." Have you ever trusted someone simply because they were kind to your children? It's a dangerous blind spot. Ethan was about to crash right into it. The next day, Ethan cornered one of the drivers in an alleyway behind the repair shop. He slammed the man against the brick wall, demanding to know why they were trying to kill Lydia. The hitman didn't scream. He laughed, blood on his teeth. He looked Ethan in the eye and said, "Kill her? You think we were sent to kill her? Ghost, you've been out of the game too long. We were sent to bring her home." The world tilted on its axis. Bring her home? Ethan realized with a sick jolt that he had misread the entire chessboard. The sedan wasn't a hit squad. It was an extraction team. Lydia wasn't running from an enemy. She was running from her family. And then, the realization hit him harder than a bullet. He had left this woman, this target, alone in his apartment with his daughter. Ethan didn't run. He sprinted. He tore through the city streets, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He burst through the door of his apartment, shouting Emma's name. Silence. The apartment was empty. The wheelchair was gone. The drawings were still on the table. And in the center of the room, a single note. An address. Ethan drove to the address. It wasn't a warehouse. It was a gleaming glass skyscraper. Lydia's corporate headquarters. He didn't sneak in. He walked through the front door, past security, who seemed to be expecting him. He took the elevator to the top floor. And there she was. Lydia sat behind a massive mahogany desk, overlooking the city. Emma was sitting on a plush rug in the corner, happily playing on a tablet, safe and sound. Ethan stormed forward, fury radiance off him. "What is this, Lydia? Who are you?" Lydia didn't look scared. The trembling woman from the sidewalk was gone. In her place was a queen on her throne. She turned her wheelchair to face him, her expression calm, almost cold. "I'm the one who's going to save you, Ethan," she said softly. "Or destroy you." She motioned to the window. "You think our meeting was an accident? You think I slipped on that curb?" She leaned forward, and her next words changed everything. "I didn't fall, Ethan. I waited. I knew you took my father's money when you left the life. I knew you were hiding, and I knew that the only way to get the ghost to work for me was to make him think he was saving a damsel." Lydia wasn't the victim. She was the daughter of the Don Ethan had betrayed. And she didn't want revenge. She wanted something much, much worse. She wanted his loyalty. Again, Ethan stood frozen. He had saved the one person who held the leash to his past, and now she was holding the leash to his future, his daughter. How far would you go to save your child? Would you become a monster again? Because Lydia is about to ask Ethan to do the unthinkable. The devil doesn't always come with horns and a pitchfork. Sometimes she comes with a heartbreaking story and a smile that could melt a glacier. Ethan stood in that glass office, looking from the woman who had played him to the little girl playing happily in the corner. Lydia laid her cards on the table. She didn't want to hurt Emma. She actually liked Emma. But she needed the ghost. Her father's empire was crumbling. The old guard, the brutal capos who ran the streets, didn't respect her. They were planning to kill her and take over. Lydia looked at Ethan with eyes that were no longer cold, but desperate. I don't want to be a victim, Ethan. I want to be the queen. But I can't do it alone. I need you to remove them. Do this one last job, clean the slate, and I'll give you and Emma a new life, anywhere in the world. $1 million cash. It was the ultimate deal with the devil. Become a monster one last time to save his daughter and secure her future. Or refuse, and watch the wolves tear Lydia and likely Emma apart. Ethan looked at his hands, the grease-stained hands of a mechanic. Then he looked at the toolbox he had brought with him. I'll handle it, he said. But we do it my way. The meeting was set for that night, the boardroom. 5 of the city's most dangerous men sat around a mahogany table, waiting for Lydia to resign. When Lydia rolled in, she looked terrified. That wasn't acting. She thought Ethan was going to come out of the shadows with a silencer. She was shaking because she was about to become a murderer by proxy. The door clicked shut. Ethan stepped out of the shadows. The capos reached for their jackets, but Ethan was faster. He didn't pull a gun. He slammed his toolbox onto the table. The sound echoed like a gunshot. The capos froze. Lydia held her breath. Ethan looked at the men who used to command him. Then he looked at Lydia. You wanted me to take out the trash, Lydia. You wanted to be the queen. But a queen doesn't rule a graveyard. He opened the toolbox. Inside, the false bottom was gone. There were no guns. There was a single red light blinking on a small black box. Enresters Biascos Waster. Enresters Waster. Gentlemen, Ethan said calmly, and Lydia, say hello to the district attorney. It was a live stream. A wire. See, here is the twist that nobody in that room saw coming. Ethan realized that A, his violent past, and B, Lydia's ruthless ambition would only lead to C, death for everyone, so he introduced a new variable. He didn't choose violence. He chose the truth. The room erupted, panic, shouting, but it was too late. Sirens were already wailing from the street below. Blue and red lights washed over the glass walls of the skyscraper. Lydia screamed at him. You betrayed me! You destroyed everything! Ethan walked over to her, ignoring the men scrambling to shred documents. He knelt down, just like he had on the sidewalk that first morning. No, Lydia, he said softly. I saved you. If I killed them, you'd own the throne, but you'd lose your soul. You'd become your father. Today, you go to jail. But one day, you'll walk out a free woman, not a monster. The police burst in. Handcuffs clicked. The old guard was finished. Lydia was led away, weeping not from fear, but from the crushing weight of realization. She had wanted power. Ethan gave her penance. Months later, a park bench. Ethan sits watching Emma chase butterflies. A letter sits in his hands. It's from a federal prison. It reads, Thank you for not listening to me. Thank you for saving the part of me I thought was dead. Ethan smiled. He was still broke. He was still a mechanic. But he wasn't a ghost anymore. He was just a dad. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for someone isn't giving them what they want. It's stopping them from destroying themselves. Ethan showed us that true strength isn't about who you can kill. It's about who you can save, even when they don't want to be saved. So I have to ask you, was Ethan right to turn her in? Or should he have taken the money? Let me know in the comments below. If this story twisted your mind and touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Remember, kindness is free, but redemption you have to earn. Until next time.